welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Well, Valentine's is over now, but there weren't too many heartbreakers this weekend on the Plains. In fact, I think you'll be pleased to hear the word sweep several times throughout the show.
You're right, Kitty. The Auburn faithful had themselves a weekend. It comes at a good time as well with championship season right around the corner.
If you feel like that's a lot of information to digest, you've come to the right place. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Kitty Diamond.
And I'm Cohen Dalzell. We've got plenty in store for you tonight, from opening weekends to historic runs.
We have to start off with a team who may have broken my heart a little bit this weekend. Over on the court, Auburn men's basketball faced off against a challenging Vanderbilt team at home in Neville Arena. My friend Cohen was on site and he's put together everything you need to know.
After losing a close one in the Iron Bowl of basketball on Saturday, Auburn looked to bounce back against number 19 Vanderbilt here in Neville Arena. The Commodores led for 38 minutes and 40 seconds as they defeated the Auburn Tigers 84-76.
It was all Vanderbilt early as they got the dirty work done inside, going on an 11-6 run and making tough shots like this and one. But not to fear for Auburn. Keyshawn Hall is here, knocking down trays and doing what he always does inside and getting to the foul line. Unfortunately for Auburn, they're not the only team that can knock down the tray ball. Vanderbilt continued to pad their lead with tough shot making and good shots inside. But just before the break, Tahad Pettiford cuts it to within single digits. But then, just as Hall on the other end, Devin McLaughlin says, "Give me those three right back." In the second half, Auburn continues to try to trim the lead. Tahad Pettiford, circus shot inside. Then he passes it over to Elijah Freeman, who gets to work and makes the easy layup. And don't worry, they've got even more. Backdoor pass to Kevin Overton. He scores. And for an Auburn team down, a Vanderbilt turnover never hurts. Auburn continued to make their push as they cut the lead to just 4. Sebastian Williams-Adams inside. Then Elijah Freeman on the drive. Pushed back Keyshawn Murphy. But unfortunately for Auburn, that was where the fairy tale ended, as Vanderbilt was just too good, too much firepower, as they shut them down in the late going. Auburn loses 84-76 to number 19 Vanderbilt, falling to 14-10 on the season and 5-6 in SEC play.
That's all from Neville Arena. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Cohen Dalzell.
Auburn continued their conference slate with a trip to Fayetteville to take on Coach Calipari and his 21st ranked Arkansas Razorbacks. Auburn was without leading scorer Keyshawn Hall in the game, with head coach Stephen Pearl commenting he did not live up to the standards of our program this week as to why he didn't suit up.
The Tigers received 29 points from Tahad Pettiford and a 22-12 double-double from Keyshawn Murphy. However, outside of the two mentioned, Auburn struggled offensively and couldn't keep down a high-powered Razorback offense on the other end of the floor. The Tigers could not complete the season sweep over Arkansas, falling 88-75.
I can't say I'm surprised with revenge on the Razorbacks' minds. Trying to shake off their tough stretch, the Tigers will head to Mississippi State tomorrow night.
That game is set for 8 p.m., so get your studying done ahead of time. If midterms are in the way, don't worry. Eagle Eye's Campbell Perry is making the trip to Starkville to keep you up to date.
Sounds like you'll just have to tune in next week when we come back from the break. Eagle Eye insider Kevin Corso will join me in the studio. We're talking key players on the court and some who didn't get past the bench. Don't go anywhere. If you're just joining us, we are diving into the Auburn men's basketball team with our Eagle Eye insider, Kevin Corso. Kevin, there's so much going on with the team right now. What do you think were the factors down the stretch in that Arkansas game?
It was a Valentine's Day to forget for the Tigers as Auburn got stood up by number 21 Arkansas on their second date this season. The Tigers failed to replicate the offensive efficiency of their previous performance against the Pigs, partly due to the glaring absence of leading scorer Keyshawn Hall, who was benched by Coach Pearl for disciplinary issues. Hall certainly would have been a help. For the Tigers, who outside of 29 and 22-point performances from Tahad Pettiford and Keyshawn Murphy, shot an abysmal 22% from the field. Pettiford and Murphy also added 7 assists and 12 rebounds respectively, but their efforts were not enough to keep up with the hot hand duo of Darius Acuff Jr. and Billy Richmond III, who both logged career scoring nights. Freshman sensation Acuff Jr. was sending love letters to the basket from beyond the arc, dropping 31 points on 7 out of 10 shooting from deep. Richmond III added 25 points on 12 for 15 from the field. The two especially dominated down the stretch, combining for 18 of Arkansas's last 23 points. Auburn saw bright spots with great performances from Pettiford and Murphy, who continue to show growth on both ends of the floor. The Tigers battled on the glass and created opportunities that allowed them to hang around well into the second half, but Arkansas never really gave up control of the game. It felt like every time Auburn tried to make a move, Arkansas sent them back to the friend zone, and for this matchup, the loss column. Now, Elijah Freeman talked about what the Tigers need to do in their upcoming game against Mississippi State. Take a listen.
Just being able to lock in on stuff like that, like knowing where the shooter's at and how hard you got to close out, and knowing who can't shoot and who's quick off the dribble and stuff like that. Just little details like that are really important, and just being able to watch film and pay attention to what all the coaching staff is saying and stuff like that is going to help moving forward.
Auburn is looking to shake off a rough stretch of 5 straight losses as the Tigers head to Starkville on Wednesday for an SEC battle with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Winter certainly came for these two squads. Who have struggled in SEC play so far, with Auburn posting a slightly better 5-7 conference record compared to Arkansas's 4-8. However, this is a huge matchup to keep the dreams of spring alive with the tournament in March looming. The Bulldogs are coming off a loud 90-78 win at Ole Miss, powered by a 32-point heater courtesy of Josh Hubbard. Meanwhile, Auburn couldn't find enough scoring in their last outing, despite 51 points from Pettiford and Murphy. However, the Tigers regained Keyshawn Hall, whose 20.7 points per game are sure to provide their usual spark to the Tiger offense. This matchup comes down to a simple question. What style of ball are we playing? Mississippi will be looking for a fast, guard-driven game as the bulk of their offense comes exclusively from Hubbard. Hubbard is an eye-test hooper averaging over 20 a game who can create his own shot and heat up quite quickly. The Bulldogs may not have many offensive ingredients, but when Hubbard is cooking, the flavors are elevated and the recipe has potential for success. Auburn will need to slow down the pace and make this a possession game. The Tigers have been at their best when they crash the offensive glass, win the free throw battle, and force turnovers that lead to easy points. Be on the lookout for Keyshawn Murphy coming off a 22-point, 12-rebound double-double against Arkansas to be a huge factor on both ends of the floor in this matchup against his former team. If Auburn can control the tempo and limit Hubbard early, they could surely breathe back some life into March hopes by stealing a win in Starkville.
Well, Kevin, that's all the time we have with you today, but I hear you might make an appearance later in the half hour with some NFL updates. After this, we'll start our Men's Minute and we'll take you out to the ball game. Maybe there'll be some Cracker Jacks. Stick with us.
It's time for our Men's Minute, and I'm sorry, Cohen, but I think I misplaced the Cracker Jacks.
So we can get over to the dugout. Let's talk some men's baseball. This weekend, the Tigers kicked off their season at home against the Youngstown State Penguins.
Jake Marciano had a casual start to the season, pitching the most strikeouts in a game since 2019. Logan Carr was lucky enough to be in the action. Here he is with an update to show us some more.
It's opening night here at Plainsman Park as the Auburn Tigers took on the Youngstown State Penguins. Let's take a look at the highlights.
It was a pitcher's duel through the first 4 innings of the game, with both pitchers recording a combined 13 strikeouts before either team scored. The first run of the game would come in the form of a Youngstown State solo home run from Brady Shannon. The Tigers would answer back with a 5th inning rally with freshman Ethan Bingaman reaching first on an error from Youngstown State first baseman Nick Miscavige, and taking second via an error by catcher Caleb Hadley. A single from Auburn's second baseman Chris Rembert would cause Bingaman to score, tying the game for the Tigers. After that, it was right back to the duel between the pitchers, with Auburn's own Jake Marciano finishing with 12 strikeouts after 5 innings of work, and Youngstown State's Brady Gebhardt finishing with 11 strikeouts after 6. A double from Eric Guevara would be the start of an 8th inning rally by the Tigers to take the lead, as Guevara would score on a single from Chase Fralick into right field.
Auburn wins with a final score of 2-1.
Because of inclement weather on Sunday, games 2 and 3 of the series were made into a doubleheader on Saturday. Game 2 of the series was very similar to the first one, starting at 2 p.m. on Saturday, and with the Penguins of Youngstown State striking the first blow in the top of the fifth with an RBI double off the bat of Garrett Cutting.
Auburn struggled to move base runners, and Youngstown made multiple stellar plays to keep the lead, but the Tigers tied it up in the bottom of the ninth and walked it off in the next inning 2-1.
Auburn picked it back up in a big way to close the series later at 6 o'clock Saturday in the third game of the doubleheader. Eagle Eye's Vivian Kennel has more from Plainsman Park.
Number 5, Auburn looks to conclude its opening weekend here at Plainsman Park as they head into their final matchup of a 3-game stretch. Tonight, the Tigers face Youngstown State, concluding their doubleheader, aiming to finish the weekend undefeated. Auburn wasted no time taking control Saturday night, cruising to a 17-2 run rule victory. The Tigers struck first and struck fast. With 1 out in the opening inning, Chase Freilich launched a 2-run homer 419 feet over the right field bullpen. On the mound, Alex Petrovic set the tone. The right-hander worked 5 scoreless innings and struck out a career high of 9. The offense backed him up in waves, 3 runs in the second, 1 in the fourth, then an 8th-run fifth that broke it wide open, highlighted by back-to-back RBI singles from brothers Brandon and Mason McCrane, their first career RBIs. Bub Terrell then added a solo shot in the 6th, marking the 2nd home run of the game.
Yeah, came out, I feel like all the work that we put in early spring, fall, we displayed it like the best we could. Obviously, really good results. And having 3 guys and the pen coming behind us and really putting their foot down, huge for opening weekend. Sets us up real nice.
A statement start for the Tigers. 3 games, 3 wins to open the year, building momentum for the season. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Vivian Kennel. Number 5, Auburn.
We wish them good luck in the rest of their season. Now it's time to bring in our resident reporter, Barrett. What's going on with the men's golf team?
Thanks, Kitty. To kick off this Men's Minute, let's talk all things Auburn men's golf. The team headed to the Gator Invitational on Saturday, February 14th through the 15th. Auburn placed 2nd overall, just falling short to Florida in the final standings. However, it was a historic weekend for Jackson Cohen. He won the Gator Invitational, marking his 7th tournament win, the most in Auburn program history. Cohen was also named SEC Golfer of the Week, and at this point, he's getting used to the honor. This marks the 10th time he's earned the award. And there's even more good news. The Auburn men's golf team has moved up 2 in the national rankings. Awesome to see all their hard work pay off. Now, let's dive into the next sport, swim and dive. On Monday, February 16th, the men's team competed in the 1-meter dive at the SEC Championships in Knoxville, Tennessee. The men's team came out strong. Ben Wilson in the finals took the highest place for Auburn with a 322.45. Time to put on our spikes and run over to the track. The track and field team competed in the Tiger Paw Invitational on February 13th and 14th. Auburn sent 16 men and 17 women to go compete in Clemson. Jacoby Thorpe claimed the NCAA's top time this season with a 7.46 in the men's 60-meter hurdles. Megan Hogg also had a fantastic weekend where she won 1st place in the shot put and ranks 3rd nationally in the SEC season, as well as holding a 9 out of top 10 best marks in Auburn history. Then the Tigers headed down north to compete at the David Henry Valentine Invitational. 4 of Auburn's long-distance runners made the trip to compete, and I'm happy to tell you that Camilla Gomes broke the Auburn school record in the mile with an incredible time of 4 minutes and 36 seconds. Finally, we have men's tennis. They will have their opening match versus Florida at home, so make sure you go out and support the team. Kitty, Cohen, I think it's time for some trivia.
That's the time we're talking about. Let's take it back to our roots this time. What two teams played when the term War Eagle was born? Was it A, the Iron Bowl, Auburn versus Alabama, B, Auburn versus Vanderbilt, C, Auburn versus Tennessee, or D, Auburn versus Georgia? We'll have the answer for you right after a short break, and we'll begin our Women's Watch.
Before we left you, we asked you what two teams played when the term War Eagle was born. Was it A, the Iron Bowl, Auburn versus Alabama, B, Auburn versus Vanderbilt, C, Auburn versus Tennessee, or D, Auburn versus Georgia? If you guessed letter D, Auburn versus Georgia, the Deep South's oldest rivalry, you'd be correct. That's honestly not very surprising, seeing how intense the rivalry can get.
Time to head over onto the greens. Auburn women's golf played the Moon Golf Invitational this past weekend. The Lady Tigers came in ranked at number 8, and they were able to follow closely in second place after the first and second rounds.
However, I'm proud to say that the team clawed their way back to the top and finished first out of 17 teams. That is huge for the program, I must say. Now, how about we talk about another Auburn women's team, Barrett?
Thanks, Cohen. Don't flip out, but it's time for women's gymnastics. Number 17 Auburn faced number 2 LSU on Friday, February 13th. Sadly, the team could not come out with a win. However, they scored their second highest away score of the year with a 196.825. Then Auburn started off the match without Sophia Bell due to injury, which forced the Tigers to switch up their lineup. But one of the biggest highlights of the night was that the team recorded 10 individual career season highs. The team then competed against Boise State, North Carolina, and NC State on Sunday, February 15th at the Metroplex Challenge. The Tigers finished with a 196.75 total, placing third overall in the meet. The star of the night was Alex Irvine, who posted a career high of 9.925 on beam, continuing to step up in a big way for Auburn. Next up for the team is the Iron Bowl meet that will be at home on Friday, February 20th. Now it's women's tennis time. They competed at home versus Grand Canyon on February 15th where they won 6-1. Ashton Bowers and Ekaterina Kyrut-Denova killed it in doubles with a 6-2 win, improving their duo match record to a perfect 12-0 this season. On the singles side, Alex Bissetti dominated her match, winning 6-2 and 6-1 and giving Auburn an early lead. Also on Sunday, February 15th, the Tigers faced Tennessee State and dominated in a 7-0 sweep. Once again, the doubles team set the tone with a clean sweep to secure the doubles points. This victory improves Auburn's record to a 15-1 overall and a perfect 11-0 at home. Coming up, they will be at Florida on Saturday, February 21st. Now, finally, let's talk equestrian. Coming up, they will be competing versus SMU on Saturday, February 21st, and make sure you wish them luck as they hit the road and continue their season. Now I'm sending it back to the desk because I heard they have the recent information on women's softball.
Taking a look at women's softball, the girls have been slammed with a packed schedule to start their season. The Lady Tigers played 3 consecutive days and they took home straight wins.
To start off this hot win streak, the Tigers took on Illinois on February 12th. Gunnar Noreen was on the scene to show us more. But I'll warn you, he didn't need to stay for long as the Tigers took home a win in just 5 innings.
Auburn softball is officially back on the plains this weekend as the Tigers host Illinois to kick off the War Eagle Classic here at Jane B. Moore Field Thursday night.
It had been nearly 290 days since Auburn last played in front of their home fans, but that number is now 0. The Tigers entered the weekend at 4-2 after opening the season in Clearwater, Florida last weekend, and they have now won 5 of their last 6 with Thursday's 8-0 win over the Illinois Fighting Illini. Sophomore pitcher Ella Harrison, who led the SEC in strikeouts coming into the night, set the tone early, going 3 up, 3 down in the top of the first inning. In the home half of the first, Mania Womack reached on an error by Illinois third baseman Addison Carl, and then a few batters later, sophomore standout Annalie Adams drove in Womack on an RBI double to left center field to get Auburn on the board first. The Illini found their only hit of the night in the top of the second inning, courtesy of Ellie Haggard, But that was all for Illinois, as Harrison then struck out 3 batters in a row to close the frame. The Rutgers transfer went on to finish with 7 strikeouts on the night, while only allowing 1 hit in the shutout win. Auburn failed to break the game open on several occasions early in the contest, as the Tigers left the bases loaded both in the second and the third inning. However, Auburn capitalized in the fourth, as a string of hard-hit singles by multiple Tigers set up an RBI sacrifice bunt by Womack to score Talia Martin and a Destiny Rodriguez RBI single to drive in Kylie Shaw. From there, Auburn completely took over as redshirt sophomore infielder Kyla Stroud blasts a 3-run homer to deep right field to extend the Tigers' lead to 6-0. The Illini made 3 pitching changes in the final 2 frames of action, but Auburn said, "We do not care," as Alyssa Hastings sends 1 yard on a 3-1 pitch for Auburn's second home run of the inning to make it 7-0. Shaw followed Hastings with a double of her own before Rodriguez singled through the right side to bring home the winning run and secure the 1-goal victory in 5 innings over the Illinois Fighting Illini.
Auburn moves to 5-2 on the year with the win over Illinois and will play 5 more games here at J&B Moore Field this weekend before heading out west for the Mary Nutter Classic next weekend. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Gunnar Norrie.
Next, the Lady Tigers took on Bradley, and they were able to close out the first game against them, winning by an impressive amount of runs, 14-3. That's a great performance by the batters at the plate. Auburn then played Bradley again on Saturday and took another W, winning 13-5.
Those weren't the only wins Auburn's softball team took over this weekend. Auburn also hosted Campbell University and was able to walk away with 2 other dubs on their belt. On Friday, Auburn won 11-3, and on Saturday, they finished ahead 11-1. This was a great start for the team and definitely fueled some momentum for the weekend.
To close out their fast-paced weekend, the Lady Tigers took on Binghamton. For an impressive performance across the board, 5 Tigers turned in a multi-hit contest against the Bearcats. Destiny Rodriguez, to no surprise, showed off with 5 RBIs in the contest. The Tigers secured the win to maintain their undefeated record at J&B Moore Field. Get your brooms out. That's a clean sweep if I've ever seen one.
Auburn softball will turn their attention ahead to the Mary Nutter Classic. They will play some competitive teams in the University of Oregon, UCLA, BYU, Washington, Cal State Fullerton, and Cal. The tournament will start this Thursday, February 19th. Now, Barrett, I heard you want to head back indoors for the next one.
That's right, Kitty, I do. Let's talk about all things women's basketball. The Tigers were on the road this past week in College Station on February 15th, where sadly the Texas A&M Aggies took the win 81-63. However, there were some big highlights for Auburn. Caitlin Duhon had a game to remember, scoring a career-high 23 points. She also led the Tigers in steals and rebounds, stepping up both ends on the floor. Auburn came out hot in the first half, taking advantage of the 18 Aggie turnovers and building momentum early. However, they couldn't keep it rolling in the second half as Texas A&M started to pull away. Now, looking ahead, the team will hope to bounce back when they face Missouri away on Thursday, February 19th. And now it's my favorite time of the show, trivia time. Here's a good one. Which team won Auburn's first national championship? Is it A, football, B, equestrian, C, gymnastics, or D, men's golf? When we come back at the desk, they will have the answer for you, and they will be diving into our last segment, Trending Tigers. Don't go anywhere.
Before the break, Barrett asked you which team won Auburn's first national championship. Was it A, football, B, equestrian, C, gymnastics, or D, men's golf? If you guessed A, football, you would be correct. Auburn's first recognized national championship win was in 1957 under head coach Ralph Jordan. The Tigers finished 10-0 as the AP poll #1 team. Please take us back to the golden days. Now, as we move into our final segment of the night, let's take a look at Auburn in the pros. Auburn is one of 23 programs with 6 or more combine invitations this season. This is the most for the program since 2020.
Well, it's time to put a face to those names. That's right. Edge rusher Keldrick Falk is a projected first-round pick, while Kayron Crawford, Bobby Jamison Travis, Connor Liu, Dylan Wade, and finally Jeremiah Wright were all invited as well and are working to make the Tiger family proud on draft night.
Wow, that's definitely a whole lot of Auburn. I'm stoked to see how they do at the Combine. Now, Kitty, I know you're excited to get into our next segment.
Yes, I am, Cohen. Taking a look at one of my favorite subjects, let's see the new uniforms. Auburn women's golf scored these classic new Nike fits with timeless details for their Moon Golf Invitational this past Sunday. I can't lie, I'm a little bit obsessed with them.
Now let's talk about someone I am certainly obsessed with, not the quarterback, Caleb Williams. Yep, he is headed to the Plains next year. Williams went from being unranked to a 4-star recruit in basketball. I'm so excited to see what he'll do on the Plains.
On the other end of the field, in a thoughtful display of sportsmanship and friendship, the men's golf team and fans honored Brenda Valdez by wearing green ribbons in their match this past weekend. It is clear he will always have the support of his Auburn family.
I have been keeping this in my back pocket, but I'm excited to share that this very show today marks the 175th Sports Night in Auburn. Now let's take a look back at the sports shows before us, starting in 2019. Get your popcorn ready.
Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Sam Humphrey, and joined alongside me is Kennedy McKnight.
You know, I just don't think that I would be thinking about food at the Olympic Games. I just don't think I could do it.
Well, you know what? I'm a big fan of her Twitter. It's like, she's just like us.
Eagle Eye's own Andy Hewling went on a deep dive into the loudest student section in the country.
Auburn Arena has become one of the most enjoyable places to watch basketball, and it's because of these guys right here, the Auburn Jungle, and they are bringing the energy day in and day out. And today, we talked to the Auburn fans early about their experiences in the jungle and what Bruce Pearl has done for the program.
The jungle is everything. I mean, you know, you can have a tough week at class, a tough week in life, and, you know, Auburn men's basketball is playing in the jungle. And it's like all your pain, all your misery, all your frustration, it goes away because you're rooting for the best team in all of college basketball.
Welcome to Sports Night in Quarantine. I'm Delaney Bear.
Game day on the Plains looks a little different this week with the national media coming to town to cover Auburn's big game against Penn State.
Janai Broom added yet another double-double to his resume with 20 points and 10 rebounds.
Yeah, the loyal guy we see as Bruce scares me though, because I think that's what Tennessee thought too, and then he left Tennessee. Yeah. So I don't know.
What's been the buzzword of the week?
You know, after Bruce Pearl left, I would have told you it was expectations, but now it's clear that everyone is saying patience. There's no bigger news on the Plains this week than Hugh Freeze's dismissal.
Well, that's all we have for you tonight.
Go to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com.
On Twitter at EETV_sports and on Instagram at EagleEyeTV.
I'm Grace DeLeon.
And I'm Mackenzie Collins.
I'm Vince Wolfram.
And I'm Jakaya Spikes. Thank you so much for watching.
Good night and
War Eagle!
That was great and so nostalgic, but that's all we have in store for you today. For more Sports Night in Auburn and Eagle Eye Sports, follow our Instagram and Twitter pages. Make sure to subscribe right here on YouTube and tune in every single week. Until next time, I'm Kitty Diamond.
For all of us here in the studio, in the Eagle Eye studio, Kevin and Barrett and everyone behind the camera, our producers are Sophia Weber and Madison Seidel. I'm Cohen Dalzell, and this has been Sports Night in Auburn. Good night and War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.